I rubbed my eyes and yawned, staring at the endless row of boxes under the dim warehouse lights. "Ethan," Marcus called from across the aisle. "You look like death warmed over again." "Yeah," I muttered, stacking a crate. Another 12-hour shift, another paycheck. Marcus shook his head, leaning against the pallet. "Man, you need a life outside this place. You're disappearing into the night, and Lily, she doesn't even see you anymore, does she?" I paused, gripping the crate a little too tightly. "She's chasing her dream, Marcus. That's all I wanted for her." "And what about you?" he asked bluntly. "What about Ethan Parker?" I forced a laugh, though it sounded hollow even to me. "I'm fine. How about my routine? Work, sleep, repeat. That's enough." Marcus frowned. "You think that's enough?" 10 years, Ethan. 10 years of night shifts, missing birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. And for what? Don't tell me you haven't noticed the distance between you two. I turned my eyes toward the ceiling, remembering her face, the smile that had once made my heart stop, the way she had promised me she'd never forget what I gave her. "I notice. I don't care. Not really. Not if she's happy." He pushed off the pallet and walked closer. "You think that's noble, but it's not. You're disappearing into shadows, Ethan. One day, you'll wake up and realize there's no one there to see you." I shrugged, forcing my shoulders down. Maybe shadows suit me. Marcus didn't answer, and for a moment, the warehouse was quiet except for the hum of forklifts. "Don't lose yourself," he finally said. "Promise me that." "I promise," I replied, though I wasn't sure if it was to him or to myself. The night dragged on. Boxes moved, forklifts beeped, and my body screamed in protest. Yet every time I thought about home, I imagined her in her little study, typing away at her manuscript. Lily Parker, with her dreams bigger than this tiny apartment, bigger than me. I smiled faintly. That's why I kept going. That's why I endured. I remember the early days before I worked nights, when we laughed until our stomachs hurt and argued over silly things that didn't matter. She had wild hair and a wilder imagination. "Promise me we'll always do this together," she said one night, eyes shining, as we shared a cheap pizza in that cramped living room. I had nodded. "Always," I whispered. Now, those memories were ghosts, and I was a shadow moving through my own life. When my shift finally ended, I walked to my car under the cold fluorescent parking lot lights. My muscles ached, my back screamed, and yet I couldn't stop smiling. I was coming home to her. But when I opened the door, Lily was sitting at the kitchen table, typing on her laptop. She didn't look up. "You're late," she said without warmth. The shift ran long," I muttered, dropping my keys. "How was your day?" "Fine," she replied curtly, eyes glued to the screen. I cleared my throat. "Everything okay?" She paused, fingers hovering over the keys. "I'm tired." "Tired?" I asked, but something in her tone made the words stick in my throat. There was a distance there, an edge I hadn't heard in years. She didn't answer. I nodded, pretending I didn't notice. "I'll make some coffee," I said quietly, moving to the kitchen counter. As I poured the water, I caught a glimpse of her face in the reflection of the kettle. She looked different, distant, cold. My chest tightened. Something had shifted tonight, something I couldn't yet name. And I realized, as I carried the steaming mug to the table, that the quiet loneliness of these nights wasn't just from work. It was coming from her. I walked into the apartment, expecting the soft hum of her typing or the smell of coffee. Instead, the room felt colder than usual. Lily was sitting at the table, laptop open, eyes glazed over, but not at me. "You're home early," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "I'm not staying long," she replied without looking up. I froze. "What do you mean?" She finally glanced at me, her expression unreadable. "I got the deal." I blinked. "You got it." She nodded. "The publisher called this afternoon. They want the full manuscript, and they're giving me the advance I asked for." I smiled, relief and pride flooding me. "Lily, that's amazing. I knew you could do it." Her lips twitched, but it wasn't a smile. "Thanks. I guess you did." I laughed nervously. "You guess I did?" I took a step closer. "I worked nights for 10 years so you could have this. Don't you?" "I don't know, I want to celebrate." She closed the laptop and leaned back, eyes finally meeting mine. "Celebrate?" "Ethan, I think we need to talk." My stomach dropped. Talk. About what? Her gaze hardened. About us. I swallowed. What about us? We've been together for 10 years. You know I know, she interrupted sharply. I know you've sacrificed everything. I know you've missed nights, holidays, my birthdays. I know you've put me first. She paused, and for the first time, her voice cracked. But I can't anymore. I met someone. I blinked. Someone? Lily, what are you saying? She didn't look away. I'm saying, I'm leaving. I laughed, but it sounded hollow. Leaving? Just like that? After everything? I'm sorry, she said softly, but there was no warmth. I never meant to hurt you. But this, I can't ignore how I feel. My hands trembled. 10 years of nights, of waiting, of supporting you. And this is how it ends. She whispered, almost to herself. I didn't plan for it to hurt like this. I sank into the chair across from her. I worked myself to the bone for your dream, Lily. Every night shift, every lonely day, every quiet weekend, all for you. And now, I have a chance, she said. I have to take it. I couldn't breathe. My mind was spinning. Every missed dinner, every quiet birthday, every time I stayed silent so she could shine gone. And what about me? I choked out. You'll be fine, she said, standing and gathering her bag. You're strong. You always said I should chase my dream, right? I shook my head. No, you don't get it. I did it all for you. And now you're leaving. I never asked for anything in return, she said, her voice tight. You chose this life. I slammed my hand on the table. This isn't just a choice, Lily. This is my life. My sacrifices. My love. She hesitated. I can't stay. And just like that, she walked out, leaving me staring at the door, stunned, broken. I wandered aimlessly, unable to sleep. The next morning, I drove to the diner I sometimes visit. Sophie was behind the counter, cheerful as always. Hey, Ethan, she said, her smile genuine. Rough night. You could say that, I muttered, slumping into a booth. She leaned closer. Want some coffee? On the house. I nodded, sipping, and for a moment, her kindness made the weight in my chest lighter. Thanks. I don't even know why I'm still coming here. I admitted. Because sometimes you need someone to see you, she said softly. Her words lingered longer than the coffee, stirring something I hadn't felt in years. A faint glimmer of trust, of connection. And yet my anger was still there, raw and hot. I left the diner and walked the streets alone, replaying every memory, every sacrifice. 10 years, 10 nights, 10 birthdays gone. She had my life in her hands, and she dropped it like it didn't matter. By the time I returned home, night had fallen. I sat in the dark, tracing my hands over the empty coffee mug, over the quiet apartment, over the life I thought we shared. I whispered to myself, more like a vow than words, I won't let this break me. Not completely. I'll find a way back, or make her regret leaving. And for the first time, I felt the pulse of something stronger than heartbreak, a plan forming, a reckoning stirring. I didn't yet know if it would be revenge or my own life rebuilt. But I knew one thing, I wasn't done. I found her at the small cafe where she sometimes met editors, laptop open, sipping her coffee like nothing had changed. My chest ached as I slid into the seat across from her. Lily, I started, voice low. We need to talk. She looked up slowly, eyes guarded. Ethan. Her tone was polite, distant. What do you want to talk about? I want to understand, I said, leaning forward. I gave everything for you. 10 years, Lily. Nights, weekends, holidays, all for your dream. And you, I know, she interrupted. I know what you gave me. And I'm grateful. Grateful? I laughed bitterly. Grateful doesn't erase betrayal. It doesn't erase leaving me the day you got what you wanted. She flinched, but didn't apologize. Ethan, I can't help the way I feel. My career, my life, it's moving in a direction I can't ignore. Direction? I repeated, voice rising. You mean someone else? She hesitated, then nodded. I didn't plan for it. I didn't mean to hurt you. Not mean to hurt me. I shook my head. You shattered me, Lily. You tore apart the life we built. You made me invisible while chasing this. My hands clenched around the cup. Do you even realize how much I gave up? She looked down, fingers tracing the rim of her mug. I didn't see it. I thought you were happy. I was happy. I wanted you to be happy. I wanted us to be happy together. I slammed my hand on the table. Heads turned. And what about me? What about my life? I don't know, she admitted quietly. I guess. I got lost in my ambition. I thought I was doing the right thing. The right thing. I spat the words. 10 years. You call leaving me the right thing? All the nights I stayed awake so you could chase your dream, and all I got in return was nothing. She winced but said nothing. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. Finally, I leaned back, rubbing my eyes. Was I too quiet? Too selfless? Did I fail you by loving you too much? You didn't fail me, she whispered. I failed myself. I wasn't ready for all of this. I shook my head, bitter laughter escaping me. You weren't ready, but you were ready enough to leave. People like you don't see what they have until it's gone. I thought of Marcus's words, his warning echoing in my head. Don't lose yourself. Don't disappear into shadows for someone else's life. I remembered our first apartment, how she danced around the kitchen while I cooked, how she'd tease me endlessly, how her laugh made everything else disappear. I remembered my quiet support, the nights I stayed up fixing her mistakes, proofreading her chapters, keeping her dream alive while mine sat on hold. I gave you everything, I murmured. And what did I get? A goodbye. She reached out, but I pulled back. Don't, I said sharply. Don't touch me. I can't, not now. I'm sorry, Ethan, she whispered again. Her voice trembled slightly, but it didn't reach the betrayal that burned inside me. I stood abruptly. Chairs scraped against the floor. Sorry doesn't fix 10 years of my life you tossed aside. She flinched, then nodded, silent. I walked away, the cafe noise fading behind me. My fists were still clenched, my mind stormed. When I met Marcus later, he didn't need words. He knew. You okay? He asked. Do I look okay? I snapped, then softened. I don't know how to stop feeling betrayed. I don't know how to stop hating that she left. Marcus leaned back. Betrayal cuts deeper than pain. But don't let it define you. People like Lily, they don't see until it's gone. You got a choice. Let it break you or rise above it. I stared at him, chest tight, mind racing. Rise above it, I muttered. Yeah, maybe I can. Maybe I have to. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the empty chair where she should have been. My anger simmered. My heart ached, but I made a decision. I won't let this betrayal define me. I'll rise from it. I'll reclaim myself. And I'll make sure she never forgets what she lost. I stepped into the new office, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Morning, Ethan, the receptionist said. Morning, I muttered, forcing a smile. A new job, new people, and for the first time in months, no reminders of her. Marcus appeared behind me, grinning. Look at you, all shiny and important. I'm not shiny, I said, shrugging. Just try not to feel invisible. You're not invisible, he said. You just lost sight of yourself for a while. I nodded, letting his words sink in. He was right. 10 years of sacrifice, 10 years of shadows, and now, maybe it was time to reclaim me. Later that week, I ran into Sophia at the diner. Ethan, haven't seen you in forever, she said, brushing her hair back. Yeah, been busy, I said, unsure how much to reveal. You look tired, she said softly, sliding a coffee across the table. And sad. I'm recovering, I admitted. It's been rough. She smiled faintly. I know, but you're still here. That counts for something. We talked more than usual that day. Small conversations about books, about work, about life. Her presence was quiet but steady, and I found myself craving it. At night, I started writing again. Not stories, not dreams for someone else, but for me. I bought a journal, flipped it open, pen trembling in my hand. Today, I wrote, I realized I am not just the man who worked nights for someone else's dream. I am me. I'm still me. I kept going, pouring thoughts, anger, hopes, even small victories onto the pages. The act of writing felt like reclaiming pieces of myself I had left behind. Marcus called one evening. How's the new classes? Hard, I admitted, but I like it. Something about learning for me. Not for her. Not for anyone else. That's progress, he said. You're building your life again. I smiled, though tired. Feels strange, but good. The news of Lily's success reached me too, of course. Her book was topping charts, interviews everywhere, accolades piling up. I didn't feel jealousy exactly, more a mix of envy and satisfaction. I'd given her everything, and she thrived, but she had left me behind. Still, her world was no longer my focus. Mine was. At work, my efforts started getting noticed. "Ethan, great job on that report," my supervisor said one afternoon. "You really went above and beyond." I blinked. "Thanks," I said, heart pounding. Recognition. Not for sacrifices she made possible. Not for someone else's dream. For me. Marcus grinned later. "See? You're alive. You're here. And people are noticing." I never thought it would feel this good. I admitted. "It's only the start," he said. "Keep moving forward." I nodded, thinking of all the nights I'd spent alone, all the empty apartments, all the silent kitchens. Now, the nights were mine. Quiet, yes, but filled with choice. Choice to learn, to grow, to write, to breathe again. Sophia texted me later, "Coffee tomorrow?" I smiled at my phone. Yeah, I typed back. "Coffee tomorrow." For the first time in a long time, I felt like life wasn't just happening to me. I was happening to life. Slowly, carefully, step by step, I was building me again. I flipped open my journal that night and wrote one last line before bed. I am no longer just the man who worked for someone else's dream. I am Ethan Parker, and that is enough. And for the first time in years, I slept without the weight of betrayal pressing down. A small victory, yes, but mine. A real victory. I walked into the community center, unsure why I had agreed to Daniel's suggestion. "Ethan, there you are," he called, waving me over like he'd been waiting all day. "Morning," I muttered. "I'm not sure why I'm here, honestly." Daniel leaned back in his chair, smiling knowingly. "You're here because you're carrying too much, kid. Too much grief, too much anger, too much unfinished business." Grief, sure. Anger, definitely. Unfinished business. I frowned. "I'm not sure what that means." "You'll see," he said, chuckling. "Sit. Let's talk." I sat, folding my hands on the table. "I don't even know where to start." "Start with what burns the most," he said. "The betrayal. The heartbreak. The nights you spent alone while someone else chased a dream." I swallowed hard. "It's Lily," I admitted. "She left me the day she got everything she wanted. 10 years. 10 years I gave up my life for her dream. And she just left." Daniel nodded slowly. "I hear you. I've seen it too many times. But hear this. Anger is energy. Pain is energy. Don't waste it on revenge. Channel it. Use it to rebuild yourself. Stronger, smarter, better." "I don't know if I can," I admitted, voice low. "Yes, you can," he said firmly. "It's in your hands. You decide if you stay broken or rise. And if you rise, no one, not even her, can stop you." I felt a spark, small but real, flicker inside. "And if I want justice?" "Justice comes in many forms," he said. "Sometimes life delivers it naturally. Sometimes you create it by thriving, by growing, by becoming untouchable by their choices." I nodded, thinking of all the times I had imagined confronting Lily, yelling at her, making her see what she'd lost. But Daniel's words planted something new: patience, restraint, and strength. Later, I met Marcus at our favorite diner. "You look different," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Different how?" I asked. "Not broken," he said. "Not like before. You're sharper. Anger's still there, but controlled." "I'm trying," I admitted. "Daniel's helping. He makes me think about channeling the energy rather than burning it on her." Marcus grinned. "Finally, that's progress. Revenge is sweet in imagination, but it's empty in reality. Build your life instead." We laughed quietly, reminiscing about old shifts, stupid warehouse mistakes, and late-night coffee runs. The simplicity reminded me of stability, friendship that didn't demand more than I could give. Then, through mutual acquaintances, I started hearing things about Lily. Rumors. Not cruel ones, but small cracks. Missed deadlines, editors annoyed, a colleague distancing herself. I felt a twitch of satisfaction, tempered with curiosity. "Seems like her life isn't perfect," I muttered to Marcus later. Marcus shrugged. "It rarely is. And it doesn't need to be. Karma doesn't always need your hand. Sometimes it just works itself out. I nodded, thinking about all the times I had wanted to confront her, make her regret, make her feel my pain. But Daniel's words kept replaying. Channel your energy. Rise above. Let life deliver what it must. I'm learning, I said quietly, sipping coffee. Learning to control it, to not let her ruin me. You're doing more than learning, Marcus said. You're living, and that's harder than any revenge. I leaned back, staring out the window at the busy streets. The anger was still there, simmering, but it no longer controlled me. I had allies, Daniel, Marcus, Sophia, and slowly, a life that belonged to me. I don't know what will happen next, I said, voice low, almost to myself. But I know one thing. I won't let betrayal define me. Not now. Not ever. Marcus nodded. Good. That's the first step. Everything else follows. I finished my coffee, feeling the weight lift just a little. For the first time in months, I believed I could rise. Not through revenge, but through strength, patience, and the quiet power of rebuilding myself. I didn't mean to be there. The literary event was supposed to be a quiet night out with Marcus, just to see the city lights and forget the weight of the week. But then I saw her, Lily. She was surrounded by people, laughing, signing books, accepting compliments. Her hair perfectly styled, her smile bright, but not for me. Not anymore. I muttered under my breath. Look at her now. Marcus leaned in. Ethan, you okay? I'm fine, I said, though my throat felt tight. I just didn't expect to see her like this. She caught my eye for a brief second, but it wasn't recognition. It was casual, professional. I remembered our first apartment, the cramped kitchen, the peeling wallpaper, the way she danced to music I hated just to make me laugh. Ethan, someone said behind me. I turned and saw a man in his 30s, clipboard in hand. I don't think we've met. I'm Ryan. I work with Lily. I forced a smile. Ryan, nice to meet you. You're friends with Marcus? He asked. Yes. I nodded. Ryan glanced at Lily, who was now laughing at something someone said. She's doing really well. But I've noticed she seems tired. Stressed. Sometimes she doubts herself, you know. I blinked. Doubts herself. Ryan shrugged. Yeah, everyone thinks she's perfect, but she worries. Late nights, missed dinners, demanding editors, it wears on her. I try to keep an eye on her, but she hides a lot. I swallowed. My pulse was racing. Interesting, I muttered. Ryan laughed, unaware of the storm he'd just triggered. I mean, who wouldn't be stressed at this level, right? But she's handling it mostly. Mostly, I echoed, watching her smile fade for a brief second before a camera flash. I remembered our evenings together. The nights I worked while she stayed up writing, the coffee I made her at midnight, the quiet encouragement I whispered when she doubted herself. And now, she had all of it, all of me gone. Marcus nudged me. You okay? I nodded, though my chest felt heavy. I'm more than okay. I'm realizing something. What? That karma doesn't always need my hand, I said quietly. Sometimes it's slower. Sometimes it's stronger. She's chasing everything she wanted, but maybe she's losing the peace she had when she had me. Marcus frowned. Ethan, that's a harsh way to see it. I shook my head. Not harsh. Observing. Life has a way of balancing itself. She may be famous, admired, perfect on the surface, but underneath, I trailed off, heart tight. Ryan smiled again. She's lucky to have support, though. Even if she doesn't admit it, people care about her. I laughed bitterly. Support, sure. Some support is invisible, apparently. I know all about invisible support. Marcus gave me a sympathetic look. You can't stay in shadows, Ethan. You're letting old pains see everything, controlling your view. I'm not staying in shadows, I said quickly. I'm just noticing, seeing the cracks, watching how life unfolds. And I did notice the small frown when a critic asked a pointed question, the way she briefly glanced at her phone, maybe hoping for a message, the tiny slump in her shoulders when no one was looking. I realized then that I didn't need to confront her directly. I didn't need to yell or expose or punish. Life would do it in its own way, quietly, naturally. For the first time in weeks, I felt a strange calm. Not satisfaction, exactly. Not yet, but clarity. I had survived her betrayal. and I was watching the world right itself in its own time. Marcus nudged me again. Ready to go? I nodded. Yeah, but I'll remember this night. The lights, the crowd, the laughter, it all felt smaller now. I was bigger than the betrayal, bigger than the loss. And karma would follow. I walked into the office, chest tight with anticipation. Morning, Ethan, my supervisor called. Morning, I replied, forcing a confident smile. Today, I wasn't just a worker. I was stepping into the promotion I'd earned. Leadership, responsibility, visibility. Everything I'd avoided for 10 years, now finally mine. Isabel appeared at my desk, clipboard in hand. Congrats on the promotion, she said, voice sharp but friendly. Don't mess it up. I raised an eyebrow. Thanks. I won't. She smirked. We'll see. I like a challenge. Challenge accepted. I replied, feeling the spark of excitement I hadn't felt in years. She was ambitious, sharp, relentless. Everything I needed to push me beyond my old limits. Later, during a team meeting, she questioned my proposal. Ethan, have you considered the long-term risks? What if the strategy fails? I leaned forward. I have. That's why I have contingency plans. I'm not afraid of outcomes I can manage. She nodded slowly. Good. Just don't let overconfidence blind you. I caught myself smiling. This was different. I wasn't defensive. I wasn't passive. I was learning to assert myself, to trust my decisions, to trust me. At lunch, Marcus called. So, big shot. How's it feel to be in charge? Exhilarating, I admitted. It's like I'm finally moving in my own life, not shadowing hers, not waiting for someone else's dreams to define me. Good. That's what I wanted to hear. I leaned back, thinking about Lily, her book tour, her awards, her glowing public image. But whispers reached me too. Colleagues noting her arrogance, editors frustrated with her deadlines, friends dropping away because she demanded too much attention. The cracks were small, subtle, but visible. I wrote it down later in my journal. She's thriving, but the cracks are showing. Arrogance, superficiality, overextension. Karma doesn't need me. It's quietly at work. Isabel approached me in the afternoon. Ethan, you handle that client call impressively. I didn't expect you to push back. I've learned that being passive doesn't help anyone, I said. Even me. She tilted her head, observing me. You're different than the stories I've heard. Calm, collected, yet strategic. Experience, I replied lightly. And maybe some life lessons. Interesting, she said, walking away with a smirk. I realized then that I liked being respected, liked being challenged, liked the sense that I was finally taking control. Later, in the quiet of my office, I flipped open my journal. I wrote, I'm no longer passive. I am no longer invisible. I am Ethan Parker, and I have power over my life, over my choices, even over the way I watch her world unfold. I thought about Lily again, imagining her reading, laughing, signing autographs, surrounded by admirers. Yet I also imagined her frustration, the brief falter of confidence, the exhaustion hidden behind smiles. I didn't gloat, yet I felt the subtle thrill of knowing I had endured, grown, and now watched from a distance. Marcus popped his head into my office. You plotting your revenge, or just enjoying your new life? I smiled. Neither. Observing, letting things play out naturally. My life first. Her consequences second, if they come. He nodded. Good. That's balance. You're learning. By the time the day ended, I felt something I hadn't felt in a decade. Pride. Not the pride of sacrifice, not the pride of loyalty, but pride of achievement, of reclaiming my life, of asserting myself, of rising above betrayal. I closed my journal, pen resting. Isabel had challenged me. Lily had left me, and I was stronger for both. The night was quiet as I left the office. My steps felt lighter, more purposeful. The plan was simple. Live well, work hard, grow smarter, and let life handle what it must. Karma, patience, justice, they could unfold on their own time. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about hurting her. I was thinking about building me. I was reviewing the quarterly reports when Marcus called, voice low over the phone. Ethan, you might want to see this. What is it? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Lily's book. She missed the deadline for the second volume. Editors are frustrated. Rumors are spreading. I froze, pen hovering over the report. Missed deadlines? Really? Yes. Her public image is squeaky clean, but there are cracks. Just watch. Carefully. I sighed. I'm not going to gloat. I'm just observing. Of course, Marcus said with a chuckle. I know you. Later that week, I had a meeting with a difficult client. Ethan, your proposal is ambitious, the client said. But are you sure your team can handle it? I leaned forward. Yes. I've considered every angle. We're ready. The client frowned. I hope you're right. I've been burned before. I understand, I said. But we'll deliver. You'll see. After the meeting, Emily, a new co-worker, approached me quietly. I overheard. You handled that well. Thanks, I said, smiling faintly. It wasn't easy. She looked down at her hands. I've been through loss. Someone I love died. I know what it's like to carry anger and grief. You handled yours without letting it ruin others. That's rare. I swallowed. It's still a struggle. Some days I want to lash out to make her feel what I felt. But I can't. Not anymore. Emily nodded. That's strength. And empathy. You're learning to see beyond yourself. I thought about her words later, writing in my journal. Strength without revenge. Empathy over spite. My life, my growth. Let karma handle what it must. Meanwhile, news about Lily kept reaching me. An editor complained about her lateness. She promised and didn't deliver, someone said in passing. We had to push other authors back. She can't rely on charm forever, I muttered to myself. People see through it eventually. Then I overheard another whisper. A former collaborator, someone she had trusted, distancing himself. She's difficult, he said. Not worth the trouble anymore. I felt a strange mix, satisfaction tempered with sorrow. She was facing the consequences of choices she had made. And yet, she was still human. Still the woman I had loved. Back at my office, I faced another challenge. A team member had mishandled a critical report. I could have yelled, lost patience, vented frustration. But I remembered Emily's words. Let's fix it, I said calmly. Walk me through what happened. The team member hesitated, but I guided them through corrections. By the end, the report was solid, and the client satisfied. Marcus appeared behind me later, handling challenges without anger. That's impressive. You've grown. I had to, I admitted. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about control. Control over me, over my reactions. That evening, I read more news about Lily. Public criticism over a rushed interview. Her social media filled with comments, some praising, some questioning her integrity. I imagined her reading them alone, realizing that admiration didn't erase mistakes, that charm didn't fix broken trust. I closed my laptop, feeling the strange satisfaction of watching natural consequences unfold without lifting a finger. And yet, I also felt empathy. She was human. She made mistakes, just like anyone. Emily dropped by my office that night. You look tired, she said softly. I am, I admitted. But I feel something else too. Seeing life correct itself, seeing people face consequences, it's a lesson in patience. And empathy. She smiled. Exactly. You can feel without harming. That's the hardest part. I nodded, thinking of all the nights I had wished for revenge, all the bitterness I'd carried. Now, observing Lily's struggles from afar, I realized I didn't need to act. Life was delivering its lessons, subtly, naturally. Marcus called as I left the office. So, satisfied yet? I laughed softly. Not satisfaction. Clarity. Growth. She'll face her world, and I'll face mine. That's all I need. As I walked home, I reflected on the past months. I had faced betrayal, rebuilt my life, grown emotionally stronger, and learned patience and empathy. Lily's cracks were visible, but they didn't define her, and neither did my response define me. I whispered to myself, more like a vow, I will rise. I will grow. I will not fall into anger. Let life do its work. Let me do mine. And for the first time in years, I felt at peace, even as the storm of karma quietly unfolded around the woman who once held my heart. I didn't expect to see her again, not like this. The cafe was quiet, neutral, almost deliberately ordinary. And there she was, Lily, sitting at a corner table, coffee untouched, eyes scanning the room like she belonged everywhere but here. I walked over, my steps deliberate. Lily. She looked up, startled, then smiled faintly. Ethan, hi. I pulled out the chair opposite her, sitting slowly. We need to talk. I didn't expect this, she said, voice tentative. I leaned forward, hands on the table. I didn't come to yell. I didn't come to fight. I came to understand, to close things properly. She swallowed. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything yet, I said. I want to hear it from you. Why? After everything, why? Her gaze dropped. I was selfish. I wanted my career, my success. I thought I could handle both, but I wasn't brave enough to stay with you while pursuing it. I left, and I know I hurt you. I nodded slowly, listening. The anger that had burned for years was muted now, replaced by clarity. You hurt me, I said softly. Not just leaving, but the way you left. Cold, distant, like 10 years didn't matter. I know, she whispered. I made a mistake. I see it now. Every day, I repeated. The words hung between us, heavy, final. I felt the heartbreak, the years of quiet sacrifice, the nights alone, but I didn't let it control me. I had grown beyond it. She reached out, hesitant. Ethan, I'm sorry. Truly. I shook my head. Sorry doesn't fix what's gone, but it's enough to acknowledge. That's all I need from you. Lily's lips trembled. I never thought I'd see you like this stronger. I thought you'd be broken. I was broken, I admitted, but I didn't stay broken. I rebuilt myself. I learned. I grew. And that's my victory. Not yours, not revenge, just me. She nodded, almost relieved, almost regretful. You always deserved more than I gave. I see that now. I smiled faintly, though my chest tightened. We can't change the past, but we can respect it. I respect what we had, and I respect myself enough not to let your choices define me anymore. She looked down, fidgeting with her sleeve. I don't deserve your forgiveness. You don't need it, I said. I'm not offering it to you. I'm reclaiming it for me. At that moment, Aaron, a man from her new circle, walked by, nodding politely. Lily, everything okay? Yes, Aaron, she said, voice quick. I'm fine. I watched him leave, and a thought struck me. That could have been me, 10 years ago, if I'd allowed anger to consume me. If I had chased revenge instead of rebuilding. But I didn't. That life, the one of bitterness, obsession, retaliation, wasn't mine. I chose differently. I've realized something, I said quietly, more to myself than her. The only control anyone has over you is the control you give them. You gave me heartbreak. I chose what to do with it. I chose growth, not revenge. That's my power. Lily's eyes glistened. Ethan, you're incredible. I shook my head, smiling faintly. I'm just awake. For the first time in years, I'm awake. And I don't need you to be sorry anymore. I don't need you at all. Not to define me, not to hurt me, not to complete me. She looked away, the weight of recognition in her eyes. I understand. I leaned back, feeling the tension lift. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the anger, they were all still there in memory, but they no longer held me. I was free. You'll be okay, I said softly. And so will I. She nodded, quiet tears sliding down her cheeks. I hope so. I stood, sliding the chair back. We made choices. Life continues. I won't let the past control me. And you, well, you'll learn what it means to face yourself. Eventually, I turned, stepping out into the crisp air. The cafe faded behind me, but the clarity stayed. My victory wasn't her regret, her loneliness, or even seeing karma unfold. It was me, standing tall, whole, and alive after everything. And that was enough. I stepped outside after my night shift, the cold air brushing my face like a reminder that I was alive. Long night, Sophia said, appearing beside me, coffee in hand. Yeah, I admitted stretching, but it feels lighter somehow. Different. She smiled. I can tell. You're calmer, stronger. I think I finally am, I said quietly. After everything, I'm finally learning to live for me. You deserve it, she said softly. You've carried too much for too long. We walked in silence for a few blocks, the city lights reflecting on wet pavement. I felt the tension of years slipping away with each step. Do you ever think about her? Sophia asked carefully. Sometimes, I admitted, but it's no longer about anger. Not really. It's about understanding that I can survive anything, that my life isn't tied to her choices anymore. She reached out and squeezed my hand. That's powerful, Ethan. I've seen you grow. I smiled, letting myself lean on her for a moment. I didn't realize how much I needed support, how much I needed someone to see me, not just what I gave. That's what friends are for, she said. And maybe something more. I chuckled softly, a warmth spreading through me I hadn't felt in years. Maybe something more, yeah, but I'm taking it slow. I want to be sure I'm not just chasing a replacement for what I lost. That's wise, she said, smiling. You're stronger than you realize. Later, I met Marcus for coffee. You've changed, he said, eyes bright. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. I think I finally get it, I said. Strength isn't about holding on to pain. It's about letting go, living, learning, growing, and choosing who I let in. Marcus nodded. And you're choosing well. Sophia, the work, your friends, that's a solid foundation. I'm learning to trust people again, I admitted. To let connection in without fear. As we talked, my mind wandered. I'd seen Lily in passing, glimpses of her life, continuing, glamorous but fragile. The pang of old hurt surfaced briefly, but it didn't control me. I didn't want her life to fail or succeed for my sake. It was hers. I was free to live mine. I pulled out my journal later that night. I wrote, I survived betrayal. I rebuilt myself. I learned patience, empathy, and strength. I am no longer defined by what others took from me. I am whole. The words felt solid, anchoring me. I closed the journal and looked out the window. The horizon glowed faintly with color. Sunrise, I murmured. No, Sophia said softly, standing beside me. Sunset, the day ending, but tomorrow, it's yours. I watched as the sky turned orange and pink, a moment of quiet beauty after a long, dark night. I felt renewal, hope, and gratitude. All the sacrifices, all the heartbreak, it had led me here. You ready to move forward? Sophia asked. I think I've been ready for a while, I said, turning to her with a genuine smile. I just needed to see it for myself. She grinned. Then let's do it together. I nodded, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Anticipation, excitement, and peace. The future was mine, not defined by betrayal or loss, but by choices I made now. I thought of the long nights I'd spent working silently, the anger, the sorrow, and the self-doubt. And I realized that every night, every sacrifice, every moment of heartbreak had built the man I had become. Here's to new beginnings, I whispered to myself, watching the sun sink fully below the horizon. The darkness wasn't frightening. It was a promise. A promise that no matter how long the night, the light would return. Sophia slipped her hand into mine. To new beginnings, she echoed. I breathed in deeply, feeling the weight lift completely. I had survived. I had grown. And for the first time in a long time, I believed that happiness wasn't something I had to chase. It was something I could live day by day. And in that moment, watching the sky, I finally understood. I was free,